He's the next CEO, and I'm taking him. Hey, pick up the $2,000 for damages, will you? My best friend Susie said this with an ugly sneer I had never seen before. It was clear she was utterly mocking me. Beside her, my husband Sam was grinning foolishly. These two had been betraying me all along through their affair. Susie must have stolen Sam from me just because he's the son of a major company's CEO. She always loved money, but I never imagined she would steal my husband. I lost my husband and my best friend all at once. Was I just blind to the true nature of people? Probably, I couldn't have handled this situation on my own. But I have a strong ally. I closed my eyes for a moment and took a deep breath. When I opened them, I stared straight at the two foes in front of me and signaled my counterattack. My name is Megan, a 45-year-old working mother. I work at a certain company while raising my 8-year-old daughter and managing the daily household chores. Being a working mother like me isn't rare. However, I'm a bit different from the average person. Good morning, Megan. Counting on you today as well. Good morning, sir. Let's both do our best at work today. I work for a major corporation with annual revenues of $1 billion, run by my father-in-law. He's the CEO of a medical equipment manufacturer, and my husband Sam is his only son. I met Sam in college and we started dating after he confessed to me. My mom passed away early. My dad raised me on his own, but he was busy with work and didn't pay much attention to me. I like women who are caring, like you. He told me this after we had been dating for a while. It was well known among our college peers that Sam was the son of a major corporate CEO. I never imagined I would end up marrying such a person. From the outside, I probably look like I'm part of the so-called successful group. However, my married life with Sam was far from happy. Hey, Sam, I want to start working. I married Sam right after graduating from college, but I was left with too much free time. Although we could live comfortably without me working, coming from an ordinary family, I felt uneasy about not working. So, I casually mentioned to Sam that I wanted to start working. Look, you are the wife of a big corporation's CEO's son. If someone like you works outside, wouldn't it spark rumors that our company is in trouble? Be more conscious of your role. He said this with a displeased face and didn't allow me to work. Before we married, Sam said he liked caring women. It turned out he meant women who would conveniently take care of him. After we got married, Sam treated me like a servant. I hated that situation and expressed my desire to work, but my wishes were ignored. My days after marriage were filled with increasing sighs. You seem down, Dad. One late night after finishing work, my father-in-law came home and found me secretly depressed in the corner of the living room and spoke to me. I inadvertently told him about my situation. I see. I raised him by myself, but I couldn't give him much attention. Maybe that's why he grew up to be somewhat selfish towards family. I thought he was indeed too spoiled, but I couldn't quite say that in front of my father-in-law. I gave a vague response, and he laughed worriedly before making a suggestion. If you're okay with it, Megan, would you like to work at our company? Really? Is that okay? My father-in-law nodded with a smile as I expressed my joy. He said he would talk to Sam about the situation, so I gratefully accepted his offer. After that, I started working at my father-in-law's company while pregnant with Lynn, and I successfully gave birth. I had hoped that having a child would bring back the kind Sam I knew before, but unfortunately, that did not happen. Sam continued to treat me dismissively as before. Adding to that, my days were extremely busy with childcare, work, and household chores, but this lifestyle suited me better than doing nothing. Interestingly, despite being the CEO's son, Sam hardly worked at all. It seemed like he was resting on his laurels. You're working so hard, it's just pointless suffering, he would say, regularly making such snide remarks as I busied myself. Lately, I feel Sam's attitude towards me has been getting worse. My frustration was building up. Lately, Sam has been terrible. Just the other day, this happened. That's definitely your husband's fault. My confidant in these matters was my best friend Susie. Susie and I have been friends since high school, and she always listens to my complaints. When I talk to her, it's always at the same cafe we've been going to since high school. Susie was my best friend and someone very important to me. It's unforgivable that your husband treats Megan, who is so caring and hardworking, so poorly. Thank you, Susie. Seeing Susie get angry on my behalf, I couldn't help but give a wry smile. While sipping the orange juice she always ordered, Susie continued. But he does have that kind of attitude, doesn't he? Wait, Susie, have you met Sam before? Susie looked surprised for a moment, then quickly returned to smiling and continued. I met him at the wedding, but it's strange to act like I know him from just that. I've always been listening to Megan's stories, so I guess I just formed an image in my mind. Oh, I see, sorry, Susie. I didn't realize I had been complaining to you so much. It's like you know him personally. It seems I had always been venting to Susie. I reflected on my behavior and bowed my head. Susie gave a wry smile and shook her head. No, it's okay. Don't worry about it, Megan. Hey, want some cake? I feel like having something sweet. Oh, that sounds nice. Even after that, I found myself continuing to complain about Sam, but Susie never grew tired of it and always compassionately sided with me. Lately, I had been receiving a lot of harsh words from Sam, but thanks to Susie and my father-in-law, I managed to get through each day. However, that routine suddenly came to an end. Dad, why? One day, my father-in-law suddenly fell ill and passed away. While he was in the hospital, I prayed for his recovery and diligently cared for him, but it seems my prayers were not heard. He was still energetic at the beginning of his hospitalization, but he grew weaker each day and eventually passed away. Grandpa. Lynn, who adored my father-in-law, also looked sad. She always came with me to visit and helped take care of him. On the other hand, Sam, his own son, said, "Since you're taking care of him, I don't need to go, right?" He never visited once and showed no sign of sadness when his father died. I don't really get this stuff. I'll leave it all to you. Furthermore, he left all the arrangements for the funeral and subsequent matters to me. I managed with the help of my father-in-law's company's lawyer and staff, but I couldn't help being dumbfounded by Sam's behavior even in such times. I somehow got him to attend the funeral as an only son, but afterwards, he didn't mourn and continued to come home late every day. I'm home. That day too, Sam returned late, and I looked at him with dismay as he walked into the living room. It was just as Lynn had finished her bath and was getting ready for bed. His face was flushed, possibly from drinking. Daddy, you smell like alcohol. Lynn, too, looked at him with a dismayed expression and muttered. Sam, it hasn't even been half a month since your father passed away. Where do you go every day? I couldn't hold back any longer and confronted him, but he just contorted his face in displeasure. It's my life. I can go wherever I want. Don't pry into everything. You don't have the right to tie me down, do you? Even so, it's only been a short time since your father died. So what? Do I have to stay home all the time? Being around you with that gloomy face makes me feel crazy too. In response to Sam's unreasonable remarks, I retorted without thinking. You told me to be aware of my role as the wife of a major corporate CEO's son when I wanted to work. How about you show some awareness as the CEO's son yourself? How do you think it looks when you wander around outside right after your father has died? Midway through my words, Sam threw his bag at me in anger. Fortunately, the bag missed Lynn and me, hitting the floor instead. Sam glared at me with fury, his eyes wide with anger. Don't get smart with me just because you're my wife. If you say something smart again, I won't let it go. He stormed out of the living room, leaving Lynn and me in shock. Mom, are you okay? Lynn, recovering first, looked at me with concern. I forced a smile and reassured her. I'm okay. I'm sorry, Lynn. Did that scare you? Mom, it's not your fault. Even in such times, my gentle daughter cared for me, and I hugged her tightly. If it weren't for Lynn, I might have broken down. Despite her grief over losing her beloved grandfather, she still offered me kind words. Marrying Sam might have been a mistake, but becoming family with my father-in-law and Lynn was the true treasure I gained from this marriage. A few days later. Oh no. Having managed to settle the procedural matters, all that was left was to prepare for my father-in-law's 49th day memorial service. Thinking it was a good time to contact Susie to vent, I received an unexpected call from Sam, who was out again. Yes, what is it? I need to talk. Meet me at the cafe near the station. His tone, commanding as always, nearly made me sigh, but thinking it would be more trouble to refuse, I headed to the specified location. This cafe, it's the one you and Susie frequent, isn't it? The cafe, a favorite since high school, might look old but offers delicious food and has a relaxing, tasteful atmosphere. It was surprising that Sam, who prefers more flamboyant places, knew this cafe. As I entered, I was about to learn an astonishing truth.
What? What did you just say?
Sam was waiting at the back of the cafe, and as soon as I sat down, he thrust something at me. That's why I said we should get married. I want a divorce from you. Sam, grinning slyly, was pushing a divorce paper towards me. My shock wasn't because Sam wanted a divorce, but because the person he planned to marry next was sitting next to him, someone shocking to me. Sorry, Megan. I'm taking your husband, okay? Susie said this in a snide voice. She wrapped her arm around Sam's with practiced ease. Sam's dad has passed away and all the paperwork is mostly settled, right? I thought it was a good time to get rid of all the hassle. Right, Sam? Susie smiled at him, and Sam nodded back with a smile. Since when? Struggling to keep my voice steady, I asked them both. Right after Lynn was born, I guess. I visited your house, and that's when I met Sam. He said you weren't taking care of his needs, and he seemed pretty frustrated. Susie spoke with a smirk, reveling in the sordid details. It was a hideous smile I had never seen before. You better get ready to leave. I'll let you stay in the house until you find a place out of pity. I'll be at Susie's, so call me when you're ready to move out. I still had questions, but the two of them left the cafe quickly after placing the divorce papers on the table. I exhaled softly as I looked at the divorce form, where only Sam had filled out his part. I carefully folded the divorce papers and put them in my bag, then took out my phone to call someone I needed to contact. A few days later. Are you ready to leave? Sam returned home for the first time in a while. After that day, Sam really moved into Susie's place and hadn't come back to this house once. In the meantime, I had hurriedly made certain preparations and had called Sam yesterday. Lynn wasn't here right now. I couldn't let her be involved in the ugly disputes about to unfold among adults. So, I had left her with a close colleague from work, a mother who Lynn is very fond of and gets along well with her children. I imagined Lynn was having a good time right now. This house, it's been a while. It's always such an impressive place. It's amazing that I'll be living here now. Such a house is wasted on a plain woman like you. Next to Sam was a cheerful Susie. Susie wasn't invited, but she followed anyway. Even as she hurled insults at me, she was smiling. She seemed extremely pleased to be divorcing Sam and becoming the wife of a corporation CEO. Come, take a seat. I led the two to the living room, and they looked surprised. What's this? Don't let strangers into my house without asking. You cheated too? I guess it's tit for tat then. In the living room, a serious-looking man in a suit was sitting. The man didn't flinch at their rude remarks. Don't be rude. This person is someone I called here, definitely not an affair partner. Ignoring their petty taunts, I took my seat. So, are you ready to get divorced? Yes, here's the divorce form, already filled out. As I handed over the completed divorce form, they both smirked. You're prepared, at least. Do you understand what's going to happen next? You won't be the wife of a corporate heir anymore. You'll be stripped of money, a place to live, everything. What awaits you is a bleak future after being dumped by Sam. Susie said triumphantly, to which I quietly replied. Susie, just one question. Why did you cheat with Sam? That's obvious. Sam's the heir to a big corporation, right? If I marry him, I won't have to worry about money ever again. Hearing this, I understood. This girl has always loved money. During our student days, she worked countless part-time jobs, even at the cost of her grades. Even as an adult, I thought she was greedy for money, but since Susie was my best friend, I never reproached her. Looking back, I wonder if things would have been different if I had cautioned her then. But now, it was all too late. Hearing Susie's words, Sam shrugged his shoulders theatrically and wrapped his arm around her waist. Wow, you're really after my money, huh? Oh, I do love you, too, Sam. Just as much as I love your money. Susie laughed crudely and turned back to me, then took out something from her bag and tossed it in front of me. He's going to be the next CEO, and I'm taking him. Here, pick up $2,000 for damages. Since you'll be broke after divorcing him, I'm generously giving you $2,000. What vulgar people! Faced with such grotesque behavior, I grimaced deeply. As I was pondering how to respond, the man in the suit sitting next to me began to tremble his shoulders. Then, to my astonishment, he burst into uproarious laughter. What? Sam let out a deflated voice. Next to him, Susie also looked taken aback. Oh, I apologize. It's just that you seem so unaware of your own circumstances that I couldn't help but laugh. The man, wiping tears from his eyes, pulled a business card from his pocket. As he handed it to them, he began to introduce himself. It's nice to meet you. I was a lawyer under the late President Sander. My name is Kirk. A lawyer? Susie exclaimed in confusion. Clearly, neither she nor Sam had expected a lawyer to be present, and Sam's face turned to shock. Kirk then spoke a truth that nearly made them jump out of their seats. Ms. Susie O'Hara, if that was your name? You seem to think you're going to be the next corporate wife, but that is a huge misunderstanding. The heir is actually the wife, and he is unemployed. At Kirk's words, both of their jaws dropped in utter disbelief, their faces a picture of astonishment. Watching their expressions, I remembered something. While my father-in-law was still lucid during his hospitalization, he suddenly said something to me. Megan, after I'm gone, divorce him. Sam is cheating on you. I was shocked by my father-in-law's words, but at the same time, I thought, oh, I knew it. Years ago, I found women's accessories in Sam's bag that definitely weren't a gift for me, along with a hotel receipt, which made me realize he was cheating. For a moment, I thought about divorce, but I couldn't leave my father-in-law in the care of a frivolous Sam. Besides, if we divorced, I would likely get custody, and my father-in-law and Lynn would be separated. My father-in-law and Lynn get along so well sometimes I feel jealous. So, I chose to ignore the affair because I didn't want to separate them. At that time, I had no idea the affair was with Susie, and it seemed my father-in-law didn't know who the other woman was either. When I told him, he looked surprised for a moment and then sighed deeply. I never meant to make life difficult for you, Megan. It's not that. I didn't want to be separated from you either. I love you just as much as Lynn does. My father-in-law nearly cried but managed to smile. Then, with a resolved look, he said something even more shocking. If you're okay with it, Megan, I'll leave all my inheritance to you.
What?
I don't want to leave my assets to him. It seemed my father-in-law had lost faith in Sam long ago, just as I had grown weary of him.
I don't want your inheritance, Dad. Please, just stay healthy.
That's what I said then, but my father-in-law had apparently already made his preparations. After he passed away, when I contacted Mr. Kirk for the paperwork, he informed me that my father-in-law had prepared a will leaving everything to me. So, everything from President Sanders' company to his estate will belong to you, Megan. In front of the two was the will that Kirk had brought, which was just a copy considering possible disputes. And that contingency occurred almost immediately.
I will never accept this,
Sam shouted, then tore the will in half. Seeing the will torn in two, I silently breathed a sigh of relief that I had made a copy. So you're handing over the company, meaning you'll be the president? The next president is supposed to be me. Besides, you're just a housewife, right? Sure, you worked at my dad's company, but as a mere part-timer. How can you run a company? I almost blurted out in disbelief at his ignorance. Instead, I maintained my composure and enlightened Sam on something he was unaware of. I'm just a part-timer? No, that's not right. I am the head of the secretarial department. After we got married, I began working at my father-in-law's company. Initially, as Sam said, I was a part-timer, but realizing that I enjoyed working, I worked hard and gained experience at the company. My efforts were recognized, and I was promoted to a full-time employee. After becoming a full-time employee, I climbed the ranks smoothly and am now the head of the secretarial department. The job of our secretarial department is to support the busy president. I have been observing the president's work up close for many years. Moreover, it seems my father-in-law intended to make me his successor, as he let me gain experience in handling the president's duties in secret. Before he passed away, my father-in-law had already paved the way with the board members. The next president won't be you, who has just idly played around and never put in any effort, but me, who has continuously worked hard. Kirk nodded in agreement with my statement. All the formal procedures have already been completed. The only people who believe you're the next president are the two of you in this world. Sam's face gradually lost its vitality. His gaze wandered around, and then he looked down at the will he had torn and placed on the table, staring intently at one sentence. It was a line from my father-in-law rejecting his son. I will not leave any of my estate to my only blood relative, Sam. Disowning his son was a significant move. Sam had lived so selfishly that he drove his own father to this. This was Sam's own doing. My face turned pale. I returned the $2,000 they had thrown at me earlier. You might need this soon since you're about to lose your money and lifestyle. Sam is not going to be the next president, and after being divorced by me and kicked out of this house, you'll lose everything. So, take this money to help with your living expenses. At this, Susie's face instantly turned red with rage.
That's a joke. I will never accept this.
As I tried to return the $2,000, Susie slapped my hand away. Then, with a furious look, she turned to Kirk as if she was about to grab him.
Sam is the only heir. It's decided that he will take over the company. There's no way she's taking over his position and inheriting everything. I won't allow it.
Susie's face was red-hot with anger, as if steam was about to shoot from her head. To this, Kirk looked at her with a look of disbelief. You say you won't allow it, but the only people who agree with you are you two. Legally, all formalities have been followed, and the company's board members unanimously support Megan's appointment as president. Personally, I also think it's better for Megan to be the president. While saying this, Kirk glanced at Sam. I also serve as the company's legal advisor. Sam, have you ever met me even once? No, you haven't. You mistook me for Megan's affair partner. Kirk sighed heavily. If you had been seriously working towards being the next president, you would have had many chances to meet me. It's absurd to think that you, who have never trained to be president, could take over. If that happened, the company President Sander left behind would collapse. An incompetent person like you could never handle running a company. I'm not a business manager myself, but even I can see that. I was slightly surprised by Kirk's frank words. When I glanced at his face, I could see a hint of anger. Kirk had been greatly helped by my father-in-law. I had heard that when he was struggling with work right after starting his law firm, my father-in-law gave him jobs to keep him afloat. Later, he was appointed as the company's legal advisor and had expressed that he owed my father-in-law a debt of gratitude that he could never repay. Kirk's anger towards Sam, who had continually disregarded his father, was understandable. Kirk relentlessly confronted Sam with reality, leaving him powerlessly slumped in his chair, his face turning paler than paper.
You!
Susie, still not convinced, tried to grab at Kirk. I caught Susie's hand to stop her.
Don't you dare touch me! You can't even discipline your own husband, you loser.
Without resorting to vulgar retorts, I simply stated the facts. If you harm this man in any way, the company employees waiting outside will intervene.
What?
When did they? For this meeting, the board members had proposed having a third party present due to the potential danger. The company employees I asked for help are all skilled in martial arts like karate and judo. After the two entered the house, I had them wait discreetly in front. When I informed Susie of this, she turned pale and quietly sat down. It seemed she realized there was no chance of winning. With the initial momentum of the two now gone, I decided to deliver the final blow. I will be claiming damages from you too. Kirk and I have already begun discussing this matter. The word damages caused them to slump their shoulders, but they quickly looked up. Then, Susie tried to cling to me.
Please, I'm sorry. Just spare me that. I truly regret it. I'll apologize as much as it takes until you feel satisfied, then you'll forgive me, right? Because we're best friends, aren't we?
I brushed off Susie's hands attempting to cling to me and replied in a cold voice.
No, I'm cutting ties with you. I absolutely refuse to be best friends with someone who would steal another person's husband for money. It's despicable. Don't you ever dare act like my friend again.
As Susie showed a face of despair, Sam then fell to his knees in front of me, making me even more disgusted with his next outrageous statement.
I'm sorry for everything. Let's start over.
What? Getting a divorce would be cruel to Lynn, right? Hearing Sam use our daughter as a reason ignited a sudden fury within me. How selfish could this man be? Lynn asks every day when I'll get to divorce you. What? She's only 8 years old. She's not a clueless child. Lynn lost her affection for you long ago because of the way you've disregarded me and your own father. Yes, Lynn, like me and my father-in-law, had already lost the love of the family for Sam, who was always acting selfishly. She often told me with a pained expression that she wanted me to divorce him and be happy. It took some time, but I'm finally able to fulfill Lynn's wish.
You no longer have a family. The people who were your family have all given up on you. I'm divorcing you, so live well with Susie. That was your wish, wasn't it?
My words seemed to be the final blow as Sam collapsed on the spot, a look of despair on his face. Susie also sat down on the floor, covering her face with her hands and sobbing quietly. Later, I tried to kick them out of the house, but they were too busy despairing and crying to leave promptly. So, I had to ask the company employees waiting outside for help to finally get them out. This house, too, was left to me by my father-in-law. The title is already in my name, and it no longer belongs to those two. I plan to continue living here with the memories of my father-in-law and my beloved daughter. Thanks to Kirk, all procedures for claiming damages have been successfully completed. Sam had to sell his belongings and even borrowed from a consumer finance company to cover what he couldn't pay. Considering he has no proper job history, I wonder what kind of shady consumer finance would lend to him, but as long as he pays the alimony, it doesn't really matter to me. Susie spent all her savings and tried to borrow the rest to repay the damages. However, once her friends found out about the affair, they all cut ties with her. These included some mutual friends of Susie and me. They were all good people who cared about me and were appalled by Susie. From what I heard from those friends, Sam, having nowhere else to go and no money, has ended up staying at Susie's place. However, Susie blamed Sam for her plight, leading to a massive fight that escalated until the apartment residents called the police. Ultimately, Susie kicked Sam out, and I have no idea where he is now. What he does or where he is doesn't concern me anymore. Susie, due to the alimony payments, has fallen into financial difficulties and, like Sam, ended up dealing with shady payday lenders. Her fate is likely to be as miserable as Sam's. On the other hand, I am busy every day, having taken over as president of the company my father-in-law left behind. Though I was trained by my father-in-law, being the president is quite challenging when actually doing the job. I manage somehow with the support of other employees. What soothes my busy days is my dear daughter.
Mom, welcome home. Good job at work today. I'm home, Lynn. Thanks for always greeting me. You must be hungry, right? I'll make your favorite cheese omelet today. Yay! I love your cheese omelet, Mom.
Just seeing Lynn's smile makes all the fatigue vanish. Though challenging days lie ahead, I'm sure everything will be fine as long as Lynn is with me. And I know my father-in-law is watching over us from heaven. I intend to do my utmost so that he can rest easy, knowing everything is well here.